Hey there, and welcome to the Best You Nation. We're excited for you, and we hope that this podcast will help you grow, optimize your 24 hours in a day, and help you live elevated. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
What's up, guys? Hey, welcome to the Best You Nation. You have your boys, Finn and Adler. Finn,
guys,
you look good with that shirt, man. I gotta say, you look mighty spiffy with that shirt. Maroon? Okay.
Yeah, brother.
Hey, Finn, if somebody wanted to get a shirt just like that, what would they do?
So, good question. All they gotta do is go to our Instagram page. In our bio, they have to click on that link. It takes them over to our exclusive website, to Bonfire, which is helping us distribute these shirts. They can buy and go ahead and get a shirt, hoodies, different merchandise.
You support your boys.
Yeah, right. The Best You Nation. So go out there, get some merch, especially as the weather is cooling down. Get yourself a hoodie. Get you some winter or fall, winter merchandise.
I'm buying a hoodie. I'm gonna get a hoodie just to, start.
I'm gonna see how much. Let me see. So I'm gonna try it out because I haven't done this in a hot minute. So let's go over to our social media page so everybody can kind of follow along if they wanted to. So you go over to the Best You Nation. I'm clicking on it right now. Clicking on it, and boom.
You gotta bring it closer so that way they can see it. You gotta.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah. Ooh, those are some handsome men.
Yes, it is some handsome men right there. So it looks like we have. Just for awesome stuff to be on the on this. Ooh, damn boy. The lighting was so good for a second. There it is.
Yeah.
That is 24 hours in a day merchandise on there too. Got some elevated stuff on there.
That's what I'm getting. I'm gonna get the 24-hour-a-day hoodie. So just in case you want to support us, definitely something that you worth looking for. Just go to our Instagram page, see the link in the bio, and then order and support and show your love.
That's right. We will put our down here below us. We'll put our right down here below us.
We'll attach the link.
Yes, correct. So We'll put it on here for you guys to see down below, all across here. But dude, I'm pumped.
So, all right, you and I were kind of discussing, because this is a great situation to be in. Like you and I, is the path that we're on. We're seeking success, right?
Absolutely.
And we have read, we have watched, we have listened, we have done so many different things in order to try to put ourselves in the best position possible in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now it comes down to execution. And we talk about goals and aspirations that we have, and something we kind of stumbled upon was the fact that we limit ourselves. The fact that we put a ceiling or we cap ourselves off as to what we are capable of doing.
Yep.
And I think that the human being, the human mind, is the most limitless thing ever to be, to be existed, to ever be in the presence of this universe. We, as mankind, humans, were able to put a man on the moon. We're able to figure out how to create light, turn light into a light bulb. Build these boxes and machines, these metal death traps, and make them into cars. And the first cell phones were not touch screens. You had to dial a full circle, and then wait. And if you mess up, you have to start all over again. Now we have touch screen phones where we can take selfies, we can record ourselves. The human mind is limitless. All that I just said is proof of the limitlessness, or basically proof showing that we really don't have limits. And it's unfair and it's a disservice to yourself to cap yourself off and create like, well, I can't do this because, I have X, Y, and Z. Nah, that's not good enough. Like you're more than capable of accomplishing that. You just have to be willing to, don't limit your possibilities. That's really what it is.
For sure. Absolutely, man. The great thing about today and what we're talking about is the like you've been saying, the concept of limitless. I think that through our own personal journey, we at one point had something that we were limiting ourselves from doing. I think some of the platforms that we've been utilizing this year to optimize this podcast, we were limiting ourselves. We were limiting our expansion. We were limiting our different ways of getting the podcast out to people, such as this video here on YouTube. Like, people have to understand, we didn't know how to get, I think I mentioned this on the last episode, we limited ourselves as far as how
we made
ways people. What's that?
We made excuses for ourselves.
Exactly. I want to drop this real quick because this is important to understand, just to kind of give the dictionary definition of limitless. Limitless is without end, limit, or a boundary. So if you think about that, you just kind of let that soak in for a second. Limitless is without end. There's no boundary. There's no limit. And so as we're proceeding into our next episode here, as we're moving forward into the kind of the cycling of the end of this year, we're realizing that I think the limit that we have on ourselves are created based upon our own personal fears and different experiences that have kind of shaped us to think a certain way or to react to a certain situation. So we want to hop into this. We want to talk about it because it's important. I want to give an example, and it's something that we were going to talk about. It is November 30th. It is Monday, November 30th. And we have reached the end of our November goal. So I just wanted to say there was no limit for that. But we have taken the limit that we have given ourselves this month, 30 days, to now push the limit a bit further. So we're going to push it to December. I think we mentioned that, but we also have decided that I just don't think December is enough. And this is the kind of, I'm using this as an example, and Adler, you're about to share with us when our due date is for the most limitless amount of this beard growing situation. But I want to use this real quick to just highlight that there is no limit to growing this beard. The only thing that ever has limited me from doing it was myself. We battle ourselves. So I pushed past that ceiling. I realized that, hey, I look pretty good. My mother approved. So thanks, Mom. I love you. And a lot of other people have too. But the most important, honestly, is my mom approving it. So that's most important. I'm a mama's boy. So that's important. But Adler, what is this limit? Just to kind of go off for just a second, what is our next limit beside December? We're going to do that because we've already talked about it, but what have we discussed as far as another limit, or another checkpoint in this interesting race of growing the beard?
There's two ways I kind of want to tackle this, right?
Okay.
First of all, when's your birthday?
June 5th.
June 5th. So June 5th will be the limit that I set for you, all right? Because frankly, I don't wholeheartedly believe that you can make it to there. And obviously I lost the first bet, so I'll definitely honor it. I'll take you to Texas Day, Brazil, wherever you wanted to go. Like, I'm gonna take you there and make sure that you get to enjoy all the meats, whatever it is. And I think that just to push the boundaries, right? Mm-hmm. So it's important to understand that Finn has a very shaky track record whenever we come to certain bets like this. Like I think earlier we did a grow out your hair bet, and then he lasted all but 3 weeks. Yes. And that's like multiple times. We've done it like 2 or 3 times. He was actually supposed to kind of grow out his hair this time, but he's like, nah, I don't want to agree to that because I can't do it. So
Those are facts. Those are facts.
Technically, he set a limit on himself by saying he can't do it.
This is true. Which is true. We're talking about limitless. We're talking about limitless. So that is an appropriate thing to say, and it's true.
So we're gonna do this next bet, and I'm putting a limit on Finn. And the wonderful thing that Finn is doing is he's not allowing my perception of who he is as a person to affect his drive. He's focused and he's ready to do whatever it takes in order to win.
Adler, it's funny that we're talking about it because it's just a beard. I know this is kind of
it's a small scale.
It's a small thing.
Yeah.
But I want to say, and I want to point this out for the conversation talking about limitless. I love that we can have these little bets that we do, these little challenges, I should say. And something that I learned when I was in basic training a few years ago was that rolling our socks on Sundays was kind of one of our things that we did. And the first week we're like, this is so dumb. This is stupid. Why are we rolling socks? Well, they were teaching us that if you can pay attention to details with a sock, we give you an instruction, you do it, and you make it happen, then it just shows that you would technically handle a bigger or more complex project the same way. Because some of us will approach this like growing a beard, like who cares? It's growing a beard, it's facial hair. Who's gonna sit there and question that? But bringing it back and tying it back into what we're talking about today, limitless, you set a limit and you are the driver of how far, how much, or how far you can go with this. Like I'm gonna be honest for everybody listening to this. This is on air. You're hearing me say this. I had 4 occasions in which I felt like I could not do it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there was times I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, get out of this bathroom right now because you're gonna shave it if you don't. And I've had moments like that. I'm just staring at myself because it got irritating. I don't like facial hair, but you have to sometimes in life push past the limit, push yourself to that next level, because when you realize it's been a month, I'm actually really happy that I didn't shave it off this month because I actually really like this look and I have never really experienced this look. And so you never really know, if you never push past that cap, what the experience is going to be like. So I'm excited now that I've done this for 30 days and I've taken a side-to-side photo from October 31st to this time around. I'm excited to see where all this will be at the end of the year. And as simple as growing a beard, we can apply the same mindset and concepts, Adler, to life. And can you give us an example in which how this limitless concept that we're talking about today can be applied to, I don't know, any kind of topic that you feel like this would bring direction to?
So since you normally do the cheesy example, or like the dad joke
analogy, dad joke analogy.
I'm gonna take the dad joke crown this week and I'm gonna use it. For those of you that don't know the English grammar, we have commas and we have periods. When you put a period at the end of something, that means that that's it, it's done, it's finished, it's complete. However, when you add a comma at the end of something, that means that there's still more to come. So in life, you can choose to either be a period or a comma. The choice is ultimately yours, but I believe that most people would want to identify as the comma because you want to see what else is there in life. And this all ties together in not giving up. Because oftentimes the reason why we give up is because, self-doubt, which Finn had, questioning everything that you're doing and like, is this really something I can do? Is this really something I want? For the fact that we're uncomfortable. When you're uncomfortable, it's so much easier to be like, you know what? Forget this. I'm going home. I don't need any of this. Fear of failure. So you don't ever try to wander out and check out what you're worth or to see your own value. Like there are so many different factors that come into setting a ceiling for yourself. And we have to find a way to shed that ceiling. Don't allow that ceiling to close you up and put you basically in a cage. You have to be willing to shed that and be a comma in life and just see where life takes you. I have a friend of mine. She's really cool. She's actually very, very, very talented. She takes like these vintage shirts and sweatshirts and she turns them into like her own versions of like hoodies and sweatpants. And they're really, really cool, very talented. And I was like, geez, man, you really got a skill. You should definitely put that, like, you know, maybe like open up a store or like do an online store where you're selling like stuff like that. I think there's definitely a market for it and the design looks amazing. And she's like, yeah, I thought about it. And I was like, well, stop thinking about it, do it. You're really good. And she's just like, yeah, I mean, I just gotta like, I guess I gotta think and figure things out. Sometimes in life, you don't have to have the answers on day one. You can have a plan, like you can hope, you know, for certain things to happen. But really the first initial thing that you have to do is take that step. Yeah, take your step and then push yourself to, you know, reach heights that you never imagined for yourself. And the other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on with Finn is, again, I set a limit for Finn. Never allow someone's perception of you to become your reality. Finn did an excellent job of not allowing me to persuade him into like, oh no, I can't do this, so therefore I won't do it.
Millions of times. I mean, I can go back and look on our text messages and the amount of times that this young man named Adler, even over Instagram when I posted my videos, I mean, I'm talking about from left to right. I'm looking right now and I'm just looking back and I'm as you're doing whatever you're saying there, Adler, I'm just going to look through this real quick. No. But what did you say? Where did you say it?
The most important thing is that you don't allow people to limit you in what you want to accomplish in life. And people who have never taken those roads and people who have never done it prior to you can say, oh, hey, you can't do this. You're never going to reach this. You're saying that because you're not willing to actually do it yourself. But I'm willing to pay the cost. And the cost is consistency, hard work, and just blood, sweat, and tears. So that's what it kind of comes down to. Go ahead, Finn, make your point.
So I just want to share, I went back a little bit and I found one of the posts. I had done like a poll. It was the 17th of the month. So it was about 2 weeks ago. And you were basically making a point to me that half of everybody didn't like my beard. And you just said, just cut it, bro. You'll feel better. And I said, I'm not going to. I like it. And it says, come on, man, just do it. You'll feel better. I said, I conditioned it today. As if I was like telling you, like, hey, I conditioned my beard. I'm proud of this beard. And it's, you know, actually I said, I'm feeling better having it. And you like put your laughing emojis. And just the point that I'm making, it's something you just said about perception. I think a lot of times we allow our friends, we allow our families, we allow our coworkers, we allow our supervisors, managers, directors, people that we're interacting with to establish relationships, whether you're going to proceed as a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or even getting married or engaged, these different kind of relationships. But I think a lot of times we do those because we go into those stages of thinking and the processing that we do, and we limit ourselves. I want to share an experience with you, Adler. It's actually been one of those lifelong experiences that I can say I finally decided to take the cap or the lid off of the bottle and allowing myself to understand that it's okay to be in this place right now in my journey. Now, a lot of people may or may not know, and I've mentioned a couple of times, you and several other people were a part of this chapter of my life in the beginning of the year where I was at a fork road, which direction I was going to go occupationally. Like, was I going to go down the digital marketing, brand development route, or was I going to go down the healthcare and stick along the route that I'm already on? Now, this is really crucial because sometimes we face our realities in a sense where I'm really good at this, but what makes most sense to me is to go down the path in which I can develop and grow. Now, saying this, I can do wonderful things in digital marketing. It's not a hard thing. It's not a problem, but I don't think I'm going to do that as a career. I might more do that so as a side hobby.
Side hustle.
So this year, it was something that I actually talked about with you, and you had told me, don't limit yourself. This was what you said. We were talking about this. I don't know if you remember this, but you told me, figure out a plan. This was back in, I think, April. You said, figure out a plan. Do you know what you want to do? And when you do know, set your mind on it and go for it. And then attached to that discussion that I had with you, I came back up, obviously, to Georgia, and here I am now in the process of going through school to proceed with a career in the healthcare field as a nurse. That's down the road a couple of years from now. But here is something that's really crucial and that I'm learning. Someone said, stop using the word just. Like just an EMT or just a paramedic or just a nurse. The word just is not justifiable to the long term. It might be in the moment. Hold on, just in the moment. But this is the part that a lot of people forget. Being an EMT for me has always been a stepping stone for what may come next. I was a patient transporter. I moved patients from MRI to their floor, to the unit that they were on, or vice versa, from ICU to get a CAT scan done, right? I realized I capped. I reached a limit in a specific area. And I said, no, I want to move on. But how could I do that? Well, the next thing that made most sense to me was to become an EMT. Now I'm an EMT. I work in the ER. And honestly, I love what I do, but I want to reach the next ceiling. It's kind of like the floors of a hotel. I want to get to the next step. And becoming a nurse isn't going to be the final spot. It's another stepping stone for what may come next, which if you want to share, I think that's where you're at right now. And I won't expose you like that, but you're in the process of moving in your own next step. I think even becoming a travel nurse for you was taking a next step in your occupation within that realm. So that's just something I want to share. I think it's really important. It's important to remember that, again, people can define you and tell you here's your ceiling, here's your limit, here's where you can go. But honestly, you still have the power to push through. Like even with this June thing, I can guarantee you I'm going to get there, but I won't stop at June. I might, but get to June, you set the limit to June, but I might go push to July. So I push past the cap. So
you might decide never to shave again. Yeah, you might decide to never shave again. Like just
who knows? If I have this full on, I mean, honestly, we'll see. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I said, I like this look. I like the fact that if I comb my beard, that I can actually leave my brush in my hair now. That has never happened.
All right, we're done. That I don't know why that happened. So here's the thing. I actually kind of like what you just said. The word just, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just can be a positive or a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of using the word like, well, I'm just an EMT, or I'm just 30 years old. I'm just a man. I'm just this. Just used in that negative sense does an excellent job of devaluing anything that follows after it.
Right.
But it's all about perspective. You shift the perspective. Just doesn't have to be a devaluing word. Just can be encouragement. Just a little bit longer. Just a few more steps. Just have to stick with this. Like you can use it. The English language is fascinating because you can use so many different words in so many different ways. And just is one of those words that you can use depending on your perspective. You can use it as a negative connotation or a positive connotation. So for me, I like using words like, all right, this is just the beginning. We're just getting started. Like it's more of a positive factor, because I know that what follows it is everything. Like this is not just, we're not just over here, playing games. We're serious, and this is just the beginning for our podcast. We're going into our first full year come January 1st. This is, just the beginning, and just a little bit more, we'll see a little bit more viewers, more listeners. I think, Finn, you were saying we've expanded to different countries or something?
We have, and it's very mind-blowing, because when I started to think about where we were when we first started in the beginning of this year, and knowing that we've added like almost an additional 10 countries just in the last like 4 or 5 months, it's like I don't know anybody in Spain. I don't know anybody in Spain. I don't know. We know maybe one person out in Australia, but I know where he lives. He lives on the other side of Australia, but parts of Australia are popping up as the other side where he actually lives. So, from the best of my memory, we've added Australia, Bahrain, the United Kingdom, Spain, obviously.
It was Switzerland?
Well, we've had Switzerland. And there's a couple other countries that we've added onto that list. But the fact is, I think we have Russia too. Yeah, Russia was one of those other countries.
The most important thing is, like, there's two things, right? I always have two things to say. I can't just say one.
I know. You have the rule of two. Fine.
So this podcast is about trying to encourage those that are around us. That's initially why we made it, because we're passionate about helping other people. But at the same time, this is almost like an autobiography for everyone who's actually paying attention and listening. You get to watch us from the beginning and watch and see where our ceiling actually is. This is just like our way of like growing, sharing. Some of the stuff that we get a chance to talk about on here, it basically holds us accountable. Like, we have no choice, because it's just like, all right, hey, if somebody recognizes you, which I've had somebody say, oh, yay, I've heard your podcast and I really like it. And I'm just like, really? You actually listen to it? And I'm just like, Adler, come on, man, don't limit yourself. Of course they listen to it. Like, it's not like, this is stuff that is helpful. It's stuff that is, entertaining. Watching Finn and Adler go back and forth and, go crazy. That's good stuff. That's good. For those of you,
accountable. You said it. I have to be it.
Time out. For those of you that did not get to see that because you're listening on Spotify, Finn was just doing some dance move. I'm not sure where he got it from, but this is part of like the allure. This is part of like the process. So you guys get an inside look on just how we are and like our journey towards that direction. And the second thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was not only do they get the inside access from the very no. I'm just trying to think. Like, you said 13 countries, right?
We've added, well, this whole year, I honestly can't tell you how many countries we have, but as of right now, we've added an additional 10 in the last 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 months, sorry.
Okay. So we'll say somewhere between 15 to 20 different countries have either heard us once or, we're consistently in there and like they're listening to us, right? So what that means is we were only in Florida last January. That's the only place that our limit was Florida. And now
Orange County,
a full 12 months later, you have a couple spots in all different parts of the world. Now that only makes me think, wow, we did that in just a little bit under a year.
A year, yeah.
So I wonder how much longer or how much further we can go if we can just continue on this path.
For sure.
That right there is what excites me.
It makes my heart race, and it makes me feel warm when you say just under a year. It kind of triggers this thought of hope and this thought of it just kind of sparks this nostalgic feeling, because I remember, I can pull back on a couple of times where we were sitting at, at your house, my house, we're just goofing off, and we spend a lot of time. I think we've gotten better cutting down the amount of time that we, a planning stage. This is a thing. We're not your average podcast host. We believe that talking about things that are relative to people. Albert Einstein said this once, that time is relative. And so in a state of the concept and development of a podcast, you have to realize we're not here to sugarcoat. We're not here to just blop things on here, because there's weeks that we've had no episode, because honestly, we needed to take some time for ourselves to collaborate and to develop some ideas to talk about on this podcast. We've gotten really good where we can sit there and say, well, what do you want to talk about? And then we kind of start collaborating, our gears start to shift up in our brains, and we're already on this whole idea, and the idea just blossoms. So you don't limit yourself as far as the product that you're trying to develop. I think I talked about this before, but if I haven't, there are some very successful people that have had to break past their limits. I think a couple of weeks ago, I may have talked about Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was limited to the amount of money that he had. He was limited to the amount of people that would want to work for him.
Resources.
But the resources were limited. I mean, you got to think, all these people were using candles. People were using, different kinds of light. But at this point in their journey, we find that, Thomas Edison finally took on this challenge by overcoming and bypassing what he kept capping at. So this can apply to so many different aspects of life. I think working out is another one of those ones. Finances, a lot of people work a job when they're 18, but with all respect, I'm just saying, I personally didn't like selling shoes. Well, I did at the time, but I wouldn't sell shoes for the rest of my life. I was pushed out of what I didn't enjoy because I had reached a limit as far as, okay, I know what I don't like, but I'm going to go find something else. You aren't going to stay in one spot forever. If that's the case, yes. Well, yes. We talked about passion is fantastic, but selling shoes was not something that I was going to do until I was 7 years old. That wasn't going to happen. No way. But in the moment, in that season, I learned a lot about communication and sales, how sales worked, how merchandising worked, and how brand development worked at the time. Obviously there's always something you can learn. And this year, and I think we should do an episode on that, Adler. I don't know about you, maybe we could do a poll, but I think we need to do an episode on this year's success for the podcast. We talk about success, we're talking about everything that we've talked about. I think we should solely dedicate an episode to our sole why and our sole purpose for this podcast for the future and where we're going, but also explain to people, really, why do we do this every week? Think about our busy schedule. Think about COVID. Think about the opposite schedules that we have. We're both in school. We're two very busy guys. We both experience life to the max, but we also have such a busy lifestyle. But what brings us back to this? Because we know that we're not limiting our boundaries with this podcast. There are days, there's nights that we've recorded where we both had to one of us had to work the next day. Yeah. I think we just did one recently like that where I had about an hour and a half of sleeping. And it's because we love and we want people to be the best to be the best version of themselves. And I say, Nate, we put nation on this shirt because it's everybody. Everybody has that same opportunity. Like you always say, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day that they can optimize. It's a choice. You limit yourself. If you don't want to work out today and you work out tomorrow, but you forget to work out the next day, or you start making excuses, then you're limiting your progression. You're limiting your success. You're limiting the things that you can do.
And I actually just finished reading a book called Dark Matter, which it's excellent. Finn, I'm gonna let you borrow it so that way you can read it. But it talks about like the multiverse, right? As in like there is a unlimited amount of universes where there's you, Finn, and Adler, where we don't have a podcast, where we're not even friends. Like, we may not even know each other. We may actually hate each other. Like, there is a universe where that's possible. And I like to play the devil's advocate, where there's a universe where you made every wrong decision that you made, that person made every single right decision. And life, therefore, not necessarily easier, but it panned out a completely different, because they made every single right choice. Now, what would that look like? How would that feel? And that's kind of my mindset, is like, that is something that whenever I say me versus me, I'm competing against that perfect self. No one's perfect, I know that. But in my head, there's a perfect version of Adler that did everything that we're doing now, but way better, way more effective, just revolutionized things in a way that we never thought was possible. Even the pure fact that we're recording on YouTube and not only on Spotify anymore, and also Apple Podcasts and Google. The reason why we're even here right now is because the pandemic. The pandemic brought us with Stephen, and Stephen made his suggestion. Had we never had the pandemic, we would have never met Stephen. We would have been continuing down that road blindly, just recording and never actually trying to broaden the horizon. And purely out of the fact that we're here now, we have experienced growth, we've experienced some setbacks, but all in all, everything has been an experience, and it's been a learning, teaching tool for us to become the best versions of ourselves. And you guys as an audience, you guys kind of get a chance to see it, and you guys get access to watching the growth firsthand. So just as we're wrapping things up, again, I can't begin to stress and say I appreciate every single one of your listeners. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. And I know Finn does too. And we 100%. Honestly, truthfully, could not have made it this far had it not been for every single one of you. Because on the journey to success, you rarely ever become successful on your own. There's always somebody that has to be willing to be there and help you. Even the doctors that are working in facilities now, there's always somebody that's helping them. Even like if it was a person that lent them a pencil, just so that way they can write their notes in class. That person just helped you out in order to be able to get your notes and to be a better version of yourself when the test came. So we're just really happy to be like here, and we're happy to be able to help, and we're happy that you guys are listening. And just know that this isn't the best yet. We're only peaking. We're trending in the right direction.
Absolutely. And being the best you, when we hear that, when we say that, that's individually. Again, I just remind you that nation part is a unit. It's a unity. It's all of us. Every single one of you guys, like Adler says, and I'm very grateful for every single one of you. You guys are the ones that contribute. You've heard me on Instagram before talk about on my lives. I always share my gratitude for you all, because at the end of the day, if no one's listening, then we're just recording. And that's okay. Maybe 50 years down the road, this will be like one of those lost tokens that are out there that someone will pick up, like, hey, there were these two dudes that had like this podcast, and Adler, you'll be 80 and I'll be 72. Just
a young whoop.
Do you remember? That was us. Sitting there just thinking about it, and
because I'm 80, I probably wouldn't remember it.
That's not true. Don't limit yourself. Hey, I'm just saying. But guys, with all that being said, we're so grateful for every single one of you. Adler and I are here for you all. Weekly Mondays at 5:30 a.m. we drop a episode brand new. We are excited for December. We're excited as we're peaking the center. I think we've just reached the middle of our season 4, so we got a few weeks left of the year. We got a few weeks left of this podcast, and we have a little surprise for the end of this season. We have I think Adler, if you remember correctly, and for every 2 seasons we do a bloopers episode. So keep an eye out for that at the end of this season.
Bloopers.
Oh yeah, it's going to be great. That will be our little Christmas gift to everybody. So also for everybody who's out there who won the shirt, we have the shirts. We will be getting those out to you guys very soon. So I just want to give you guys a heads up to that. If you are listening, I'm sure you're like, where's my shirt? These shirts will be on the way. So just keep an eye out for the mailman. Go bug them. Be like, what's that?
I was just saying that the shirts, that we have them. And now all we're doing is trying to specialize it so that way you can get your custom, authentic, Best You Nation t-shirt.
Now, I do challenge you. For those who receive a shirt, you know who you are. I challenge you. When you get your shirt, leave. I don't know how you could do this, but I'd be like, if you could bug the mailman, I don't know how we're going to send this. We'll figure it out. But it'd be nice just to leave the message to the mailman and remind him how awesome he is and that he could be the best here. But I don't know how we would be able to do that. But beside the point, it's not, that's beside the point.
Leave a sticky note inside the mailbox. That's
right. Leave a sticky note inside the mailbox for the mailman. Let him know to check out the Best You Nation, because every single one of you guys has spread the word. It's how this podcast has been growing. I mean, as Adler said, we started off in Florida. That to me still we're in over 30 states, by the way. It's just to give you guys that number, over 30 states. So we're in 60% of the nation. That's pretty mind blowing. So
good.
But you can find us on Instagram, and Facebook, since they're pretty much together now, at the Best You Nation. Literally the Best You Nation. You can find us on YouTube at the Best You Nation if you want to get the video form of this. We decided to save you guys some gigabytes and download speeds, since everybody is always talking about that they're trying to save stuff. So we figure we'll get you guys over to our channel. Go ahead and subscribe, hit the ringer so you can be notified every single week.
And we have merchandise. So click the link down below. Get your authentic Best You Nation t-shirts. He is Stephen Finn Foster on Instagram, and I'm 24 hours in a day, HRS in a day. So follow us, like, subscribe, support your boys. This is the Best You Nation. Mwah! Have a wonderful week. Let's go.